It's fascinating, isn't it, how this story of Jeanne Calment, that tiny yet remarkably tough French woman, challenges our usual ideas about longevity. I mean, living to 122 while indulging in 2 pounds of chocolate a week and even starting smoking at 112, it's almost
Yeah,
paradoxical.
absolutely. Yep, it really turns our expectations on their head. How do you even begin to reconcile those habits with such an incredible lifespan?
Well, you see, one key element here is that Jean was born into wealth, and wealth often gives you so many resources, from healthier diets to better medical care, that you might, overcome otherwise risky habits.
Hmm, sure. Right, but then there's the whole chocolate and late smoking angle. I mean, most of us would think that loads of chocolate and even a bit of smoking would shorten your life, not extend it.
Exactly. Um, it's almost as if her body was wired differently. Also, keep in mind that she was, well, exceptionally small at 4'11", and that might have played a role in how her body
Yeah, interesting
processed
point.
things.
And her early life seems, quite comfortable. She started her day with something simple, white coffee or hot chocolate, and that routine, being accompanied by family support, can really set the tone for a lifetime.
Right. Her routine was almost ritualistic. School followed by a family lunch where her father would pick her up. It not only provided stability, but perhaps also an early lesson in disciplined living, even if it appears leisurely.
Uh-huh, exactly. Now, one thing that really gets me is the apparent contradiction. On one hand, she's consuming a lot of chocolate, which by modern standards might be viewed as indulgent or even problematic. And on the other, she took up smoking only at 112. It's like a punch to the system.
Yeah, it is um almost a counterintuitive cocktail of habits. But you got to remember, the context here is a different era. At the beginning of the 20th century, expectations and norms were not what they are
That's a
today.
good point. True. And I wonder if there's also something to be said about how her family history played a role. Longevity clearly ran in her veins. Her mother lived to 86, her father to 93, her brother to 97. That kind of genetic predisposition is no small factor.
Absolutely. Genetics sometimes overlapped with lifestyle, a sort of biological advantage. And hey, while we're on this point, it's interesting to think of her habits like her chocolate indulgence as almost a badge of defiance against conventional wisdom.
Yeah, it sort of flips our script, doesn't it? Flips it indeed. But, I'm a bit skeptical here. Don't you think that sometimes we overemphasize these exceptional cases? I mean, Jeanne Calment is a rarity, and while her story is inspirational, can we really generalize her example to a broader population?
That's a fair, critique. I'm not saying that everyone should go out and chow down on chocolate or delay a habit like smoking with the expectation of living a century plus. It's more like a historical case study that challenges our assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like an outlier that forces us to rethink what factors really contribute to longevity. Sometimes it's a combination of environmental factors, genetics, and perhaps even a little mystery that science hasn't unraveled yet.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And then there's the whole narrative of her youth. Imagine waking up at 8, getting a warm drink, heading off to school with family routines that embedded a kind of discipline. It's almost poetic when you think about it.
Indeed, it's very grounding. Yeah, and that stability might have provided the perfect backdrop for a resilient life. But here's what puzzles me. How do we square her seemingly indulgent flavor for chocolate with the notion that it contributed to her longevity? It's like, um, a paradox.
Well, it's all about balance, right? Possibly, the chocolate brought her joy and perhaps even some unexpected health benefits. There are studies showing that dark chocolate in moderation can be beneficial for the heart.
Yeah, that's true. I get that. There's this ironic twist that what we often label as vices might, in certain doses, actually be part of what keeps you going. Still, the story shouts that success isn't just about avoiding negatives, but embracing the positives that make life enjoyable.
Yeah, like she lived her life on her own terms. And when you consider that she only picked up smoking at 112, it almost sounds like she was preserving her vitality until much later in life. Or maybe it was just a calculated risk taken by someone who, frankly, had
That's a
already
bold
mastered
perspective.
longevity.
But isn't that a bit, romanticized? I mean, it almost feels like we're cherry-picking traits from an extraordinary life that isn't replicable by design.
I see what you're saying. It is kind of, romantic, almost mythic in nature. However, the broader lesson, I think, is that history teems with these complex lives that defy our neat categories, where indulgences and disciplined routines, even the seemingly contradictory ones, merge into a life well lived.
Yeah, I can get behind that. For sure. It's like, a reminder that life isn't always as straightforward as we think. It's these unpredictable, sometimes eccentric stories that keep the study of history so riveting.
Exactly. And Jean Calment's story, with that blend of opulence, familial legacy, and odd habits, really forces a reevaluation of what might be considered good or bad for our health.
Right, right. I also like how her narrative is a testament to an era when life was experienced very differently. You know, the emphasis on family routines, the slower pace, and even the way personal care was intertwined with daily living routines.
Yep, it's almost like you could imagine her walking the charming streets of Arles, living life with a sort of serene defiance, not living according to the modern rule book.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what makes history so valuable. It shows us that there isn't a single blueprint for longevity or happiness, just a series of personal choices influenced by culture, context, and even a bit of luck.
Indeed. And it invites us to think, could there be hidden benefits to the things we often label as unhealthy? Maybe it's not as black and white as we believe.
Definitely, I think so. Absolutely. But realistically, we can't exactly tell everyone to, follow in Jean's footsteps. After all, her genetic endowment and her wealth set her on a path that few other people can even dream of.
True enough. It's more about, like, understanding the nuanced influences in our lives rather than trying to mimic her lifestyle in a literal sense.
Right, exactly. And that, opens up the debate on what really constitutes a healthy and long life. Is it the habits, the mindset, the environment, or simply a twist of fate?
Yeah, it's all interconnected. Her story invites us to consider that longevity might not be a prescribed formula, but a multifaceted phenomenon, influenced by everything from daily rituals to large-scale social and economic
Absolutely.
circumstances.
And maybe, just maybe, if more people looked at history this way, they'd appreciate that the science of longevity isn't just about rigid rules. It's about embracing the delightful unpredictability of life.
Right. It's like mixing a rich dark chocolate with a pinch of rebellious spirit. Unexpected, surprising, and a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah, that's such a vivid picture. Definitely. These historical insights push us to question conventional wisdom, and maybe even to experiment a bit, understanding our own lives with a similarly nuanced perspective.
Exactly. And while we can't all end up living to 122 with a late smoking debut and a weekly chocolate binge, there's a powerful reminder here. Life's complexity should be embraced rather
Totally,
than
for sure.
oversimplified.
In the end, it's that rich tapestry of choices, chance, and circumstance that makes history and our own lives so endlessly fascinating.
Absolutely. And it keeps us all questioning, learning, and maybe even rethinking our own paths in bold new ways.
Right on.